The predicament that Vladimir Putin finds himself in is one that cannot be resolved in any way to his satisfaction. It is of the utmost importance for Putin to have millions of workers who are willing to migrate in order for him to continue his war in Ukraine. On the other hand, these very migrants are today experiencing severe clashes in the streets of Moscow, which may be compared to a small version of the Civil War. Additionally, the ultra-fascist gangs that are supported by the state and were established by Putin's own administration in order to hunt them are now more powerful than the official police. This is because the state is providing assistance to these gangs. The Moscow Civil War is a cycle of anarchy that is self-perpetuating and is showing that the stability of Putin's authority is now coming to an end. This is the story of the Moscow Civil War, which is a turmoil that Putin himself has produced. But how did this come about in the first place? It is not apparent how Putin's promise to put an end to the unrest that marked the 1990s led to a return to street anarchy that was significantly more serious. Before we go into the mind-boggling specifics of this internal breakdown, it is essential to keep in mind that you should subscribe to our channel and that you should activate the notification bell. You are not going to find this kind of insight in the mainstream media in any way, shape, or form. To begin, the what happened, which is provided to our audience when they are in need of viewing the truth in its purest form. The demonstration of calm that Vladimir Putin had just made was reportedly shattered by the streets of the Prochino area in Moscow, as reported by Russian news sources such as EA Daily. It was described as a massive brawl, and it involved more than 80 migrants who, according to sources, were equipped with knives, axes, and other cutting tools. The violent conflict that took place on the street was described as a massive brawl. Despite the fact that the images were of such a horrific nature, even the Russian state media were driven to fully erase them. This was in no matter a movie in any form. In the fall of 2025, this geographic region served as the capital of Putin's empire. This is the point at which the authority of the state is terminated. Is it feasible that the MVD, which is Putin's most recognized police force, was not there during the time that the capital was experiencing unrest? The intensity of the nightmare is significantly increasing at this time. Nobody from the police department was there. On the streets, there was a blank space that was devoid of law and order. Furthermore, it is common knowledge that a void in politics, just like a void in nature, is never allowed. This is exactly the same as the case in nature. At long last, we have arrived at the why it matters, which is the whole report of the investigation. Due to the fighting that has been going on in Ukraine, this has come about. The so-called special military operation has, in all likelihood, completely eradicated the demographic structure of Russia. As a result of the conflict, there have been hundreds of thousands of Russian men who have either given their lives on the front lines, been injured, or fled the country in order to avoid being conscripted. As a consequence of this, there was a significant shortage of available manual labor. None of the factories were in operation. Construction sites came to a complete and total standstill. What was Putin's reaction to the issue that was brought up? In accordance with the conclusions of the most recent economic study, he relied on a single source, which was millions of migrant workers from Central Asian nations such as Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and Kyrgyzstan. The individuals in question were the slave laborers of Putin's military machine, which served as Putin's economic lifeline. According to the Kremlin, these individuals were not considered to be human beings. Rather, they were economic tools that were designed to be silent, unseen, and affordable fuel. Furthermore, these millions of people were regularly denied their wages while being crammed into enormous ghettos that were located outside of Moscow. This was in addition to the fact that they were subjected to horrifying conditions and corrupt police violence. Additionally, at this very time, those silent pieces are no longer on the planet. It is the eruption of disorder that is generated by immigration that is fueling the emergence of ultra-nationalist paramilitary groups. This is in addition to feeding the second monster that is already in existence. Be sure to pay close attention to the photographs that you are currently exploring. The men who are wearing masks and covering their faces with military camouflage are not law enforcement officers. Individuals who belong to this group are referred to as the Russian community or the Ruskaya Obshina. This is not a small-time vigilante gang, as determined by the findings of a detailed investigation that was carried out by Medusa to determine the situation. It is a nationwide network that is organized on Telegram and has cells located in dozens of cities around the country. It has tens of thousands of members and is a nationwide network. What is the objective that they have stated? To conduct investigations and prosecutions of migrant crimes and to revitalize Russian order in regions where the police have been unable to achieve their goals. Furthermore, the most distressing feature of this drama is the fact that the Russian people, who are terrified of the chaotic situation caused by migrants, are celebrating them. There are a great number of laudatory comments that can be seen on social media sites, such as, "Finally, true patriots are restoring order." The question, "Why does the police not work like the Russian community?" is moreover included. As far as Putin's power structure is concerned, this is the beginning of the end for everything he has accomplished. People are not seeking safety from the official police of the state because they are so scared of the disruption that migrants cause. Instead, they are seeking safety from masked gangs that are supported by the state. This is because the people are so afraid of the disruption it causes. Imagine how the morale of an ordinary police officer, who is also referred to as an official of the MVD, would be. The people are ecstatic, since his work is being taken over by a rival gang that is receiving financial assistance from another state organization. This is causing the people to rejoice. An internal explosion has resulted in a full and absolute loss of devotion to the Kremlin. This lack of allegiance is very concerning. Who, on the other hand, is the godfather who is accountable for this shadow army? In the alarming piece that was published in New Lines magazine, it is said that this is a paramilitary outfit that receives support from the state in its entirety. The person who is responsible for sponsoring this group is Alexander Bastrykin, who is the chairman of Russia's Investigative Committee. In the Kremlin, Bastrykin is regarded as one of the Siloviki, who wields the most power and is the most dreaded. Within the context of an interview with New Lines, a member of the organization made the following statement: "We are helping the police." This is a reality that is incomprehensible to the human mind. Bastrykin's Investigative Committee, which is a rival to the Metropolitan Police Department, is currently providing financial support, training, and deployment of its very own private army in opposition to the official police force. To put it another way, where is Russia's strong federal security service, FSB, which serves as the country's watchful eye? For your peace of mind, they are now occupied with other things that are of greater significance. The Federal Security Service, FSB, is currently dealing with real threats, such as wiping out the generals who failed in Ukraine yet talked too much. This is because the ghost of Prigozhin has urged them to do so. While they are busy putting down rebellions within the Ministry of Defense, they are also playing their favorite game, which is Kremlin throne games. This is happening at the same time. The purpose of these games is to determine which Silovik faction will go as close as possible to Putin's ear. Analysts who research Russia's internal power struggles feel that the Federal Security Service, FSB, has effectively launched this Russian community monster as a tool to finish off the Russian military police, MVD, which they view to be weak and corrupt. This is the perspective of analysts who follow Russia's internal power struggles, an astute form of the strategy known as divide and conquer. Nevertheless, they were unable to recall one particular thing. On account of the fact that they were so consumed with the intrigues that were taking place within their own palace, they completely lost control over the streets. Moscow is under the supervision of the Federal Security Service, FSB, which has surrendered control of the city to both the extremist gangs that it supports and the migratory groups that it is powerless to control. The philosophy of vertical supremacy that Putin adhered to has been made obsolete as a consequence of this. At this time, the state does not have a monopoly on how violent behavior is punished. Furthermore, if the streets of Moscow are representing the physical front of this civil war, then St. Petersburg is representing the psychological and spiritual front of a fight that is still going on. On October 25th, a significant number of young Russians gathered at a congested metro station to attend an unscheduled performance that was performed by a street group known as Stop Time. The concert was in response to the fact that the concert had not been planned. A large number of people joined in on the singing. On the other hand, the music, which was the well-known theme from Tchaikovsky's Swan Lake ballet, was what made this behave in a manner that was seen to be illegal. The death notification music was played continually on state television whenever a Soviet leader passed away, and most notably, when tanks were on the streets of Moscow in 1991 as the Soviet Union was crumbling apart. This music was played whenever a Soviet leader passed away. In every instance where such occurrences had place, this song was played. The sound is the sound of the government being brought to its knees. The law enforcement officers did not waste any time in becoming involved. The vocalists were crammed into a police van after being removed from their instruments and taken away from the facility. The predicament that Putin is confronted with is one that cannot be solved. It was possible to attribute the genesis of two different creatures to him: a class of slaves who are migrating and are not under control, as well as a paramilitary army that is not under jurisdiction in order to hunt that class of slaves. These two terrible creatures are currently destroying one another on the streets of Moscow. And Putin is only viewing them because he needs both of them. Putin is dependent on both of them. In the first place, due of his economic situation, and in the second place, because of his reputation for cruel power. To what extent does this have an effect on the community that exists all over the world? Give it some thought. At the moment, Xi Jinping is concerned with reading these reports while he is sat in his office in Beijing. As far as his allies in Iran are concerned, what do they think the situation is? Do they have the impression of a powerful and trustworthy ally? No. They perceive a partner who is unable to maintain order in his own capital, a partner who has lost the monopoly on violence to paramilitary gangs, a partner whose all-powerful FSB is coping with internal rebellions, and a partner who is being humiliated by his own youth with songs of defeat. All of these things are happening simultaneously. Each and every one of these partners is an adversary of the government. Anarchy has taken over the streets of Moscow, and as a result, Vladimir Putin's reputation as a dominant guy has been completely destroyed. What would be the rationale for China's decision to invest additional funds in a nation that is unstable and ripped apart by internal conflict? A protector who is unable to guarantee his own internal safety is not someone Iran should place its faith in. There is no need for Iran to show such loyalty. The instability that is occurring among migrants provides the paramilitary groups with credibility. An increase in the number of paramilitaries is responsible for a decrease in the power that the state possesses. The novel Swan Lake presents an explanation of how the psychological uprising is brought about by the turmoil that is there. This is an example of a self-sustaining trap. Vladimir Putin made an effort to seize control of Kyiv, but he was unsuccessful in doing so because of the fact that Moscow was ousted. At this point, the question that needs to be asked is, what are your thoughts on this matter? In the comments section, you are welcome to contribute your thoughts and opinions. In order to guarantee that you are constantly up to date with the most recent videos, we kindly request that you subscribe to our channel and make sure that the notifications feature is activated. The fact that you watched is well appreciated.